one advantage I have is that I know the kids I represent.
Mm-hmm.
I every day, one of the best parts of my day is high-fiving kids as they come in and high-fiving kids as they leave. And I challenge myself every day to know their names. And I would say I pretty much get every middle and high school student right, the 120 that we have up here. The elementary, sometimes they can trick me, but so I think that really is a powerful tool to know all your kids' names and who you represent. And that's really
Yeah.
challenging to do in the large districts. That's no matter how good a memory you have. So that is a special thing. My general goal is to be in every classroom every week, if not more. And I think when you can get in there and you can see the positive things happening, that gives you that energy to go and make the tough financial decisions you need to push for something you know will save your district money or keep the product high because you know what it means to the kids.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Chris Kamrath. Chris is the superintendent and middle school, high school principal at Plum City School District in Plum City, Wisconsin. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
So, Chris, tell us a little bit. I'm sure you're probably at a smaller school district because you are wearing multiple hats. But tell us about your journey and education, and then a little bit about Plum City.
Yeah, absolutely. So Plum City is a very small school district. We have about 230 kids between 4-year-old kindergarten all the way up to seniors in high school. So certainly small. We are 2 buildings, but there's many advantages that come with that. And I suspect we'll cover some of those here today. So I grew up similarly. Actually, as of this year, I grew up in a school that is now in the same conference as Plum City. My hometown is Chautauqua, Wisconsin, and they just joined Plum City's conference, the Nun St. Croix, this school year, which has been fun to see old classmates of mine who are coaching and kids of classmates and things playing for them. So that's been an enjoyable experience that I didn't expect when I came here. It's my second year, and that was not the case a year ago. So, like I said, I grew up in a small little town, Chautauqua, a little bigger than Plum City, kind of more of a touristy area with the chain of 6 lakes they have there. My dad was a teacher. And so education was always kind of on my mind. He was a band director at the high school level and very successful. And so that's always kind of education was in my mind and the impact that he had. He never talked about the impact, but it was other students of his that came up and just talked about the impact, which was amazing. I think his crowning achievement is at least 1 year, probably multiple. He had over half the kids in band in the high school, and that was pretty neat.
Wow.
And they weren't even music kids who I think enjoyed him the most. They were just kids who enjoyed, the opportunities he gave them, whether it be playing pep band before a Minnesota Timberwolves game or going to watch the indoor marching band concert at the UW-Madison Badgers or going to Florida every 4 years and marching at Disney. But I just saw the impact it kind of brought me in. So I was a elementary school teacher for 7 years. My uncle, so my dad's brother, was a middle school principal and a very good one for about 15 years. And he was a middle school principal of the year 1 year. And I was always kind of drawn to the impact that he had on the school and just on kids in the community. And so after kind of watching with him, I lived with him for a year in college. That was something I pursued. And so in 2013, I graduated from Bethel University in St. Paul with a doctorate in education and had my principal and superintendent licensures, and was fortunate shortly thereafter to get a job, an elementary principal position. So then over the next 11 years, I was an elementary principal. Really enjoyed it. Had all of my kids through their elementary career. I have 3 boys, my wife and I, and had them, and just a really positive experience. I enjoyed coaching them at the youth level and getting to know their teammates in school too was just a special memory I'll carry with me always. And so after doing, the same job, albeit in a couple different districts, for 11 years, kind of got the itch to try something a little new. I had coached at the secondary level, but had never formally taught middle or high school. And so when Plum City had an opening, and I was in a larger district, River Falls, which has between 3,000 and 4,000 kids in the district. And so when the opportunity arose to jump here to Plum City, it really intriguing to me. My wife and I did a lot of thinking, kind of reflecting on it, and applied, and just super blessed that they selected me, and that was, like I said, 2 years ago, and it's just been a wonderful journey since. Reminds me a lot of growing up in Chautauqua and kind of that small town, and just a lot of
Mm-hmm.
many positives. We still live in River Falls, so I certainly it was nothing from leaving there, but just it certainly kind of brought me home again to this size of a community.
Yeah, yeah. It feels that way sometimes when you find that place where you belong. And yeah, love that for you. I love that for the school too, because it's just it's one of those things when you know you're where you're supposed to be, you just have it's easy to have a bigger impact, I think, when you love what you're doing and you know that you're supposed to be there. So you're the superintendent, so you're in charge of the budget, right? And then you're also middle school, high school. So do you have an elementary school principal as well?
We do, yep. So, like I said, well, it's our varsity football field and 4 houses that separate the 2 buildings. So they're just down the street. I try to get down there a few times a week and just visit and see the students and staff. But yeah, we have an elementary principal, and then she is also our curriculum coordinator for the district. We kind of tag team that. We are fortunate. We also have a dean of students up here who kind of acts as a counselor and also kind of an assistant principal. She's officially retired a year ago and is now kind of part-time for us 3 days a week, and that works out well. And then we have a pupil service director that handles some of those special areas.
Yeah, special education kiddos. Yeah. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
absolutely. So, so are you guys growing or are you kind of stable? Where's the school at as far as that goes? Challenges
Yeah,
there.
well, unfortunately, we're about to graduate our largest class, so that's not ideal. We have in the mid 20s graduating this year, and you never like to lose your largest class. That's not ideal from a budget standpoint. But our second largest class, or our second or third, I should say, our third largest class is our 4Kers. So that's
Okay.
positive. Um, so we are losing a little bit there, but we have kind of steadily been gaining, a new kid here or there, or some open enrollments, which is certainly a good thing. So we're working to do the best with what we have, and just
Yeah.
kind of a thing I'll share about a little bit today is just kind of sharing our story, um, to keep those who live in our boundaries and certainly encourage others to consider coming here as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about it. Tell us about the journey. I'd love to hear about it.
Absolutely. So when I came to Plum City, and it was kind of an interesting timing, I started July 1st of 2024, and we had a referendum that November. Um,
Wow. You stepped into it,
Wisconsin,
didn't you?
yeah, we did. Wisconsin education funding right now is kind of in a tough spot. I think in that year was the most referendums operational. So you can have a physical where you're building things. That was not this.
Mm-hmm.
A capital. Ours was an operational of just trying to keep funding, right? And so it's just in a tough spot in the state right now. That was the most referendums the state has ever seen was that year. Um, and when I jumped in, I'm fortunate to have a really good school board, a 5-member school board, where 4 of the 5 have, graduated from here, have many fond memories, and so they were able to help get out with me and do town hall meetings, get out to the different municipalities we have, and really, um, like I said, kind of tell our story, kind of talk about why we're doing this and what this would mean for the community. Because when you're this small, you're one failed referendum away from kind of
Closing your
heading
doors.
the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
Because when you
Yeah.
start having to make cuts, um, and we have a tremendous staff here. I mean, a staff who drives through other communities, some of them to get here, and they're just wonderful. And so,
Mm-hmm.
as we kind of told that story, we were fortunate. The summary is we passed the referendum, which is wonderful.
Awesome.
And so that's the next one will be in the presidential election in 2028 in November there. Um, so that was a big deal, and certainly that I was able to breathe a little deeper that night about, and not that just paused everything else we did. We still had a strategic plan we're working on. We still had other initiatives, but that helped us just to kind of be able to focus on other things.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Not
so
just focusing on money, 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 money. Yeah.
correct.
It's
For me,
always an
my big
issue, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure, right? You can't ignore it. For me, my big priorities are to um, make this place a place that people want to be. both staff and students, which includes being a safe environment. Make sure that we're learning, and I think we do really well in that area, and then be fiscally responsible. And so I think there's things we've done, whether it be creative or otherwise, to just kind of keep moving along. We certainly want to make sure that we're being true to our staff and keeping their salaries in a good spot and keeping them feel valued, because that's important. When you start to lose your staff or lose, they don't feel rewarded for the hard work that being a teacher is. That's when things can start to go the wrong direction.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, then it's not like they're giving a lot of extras to anybody in
Right.
education right now. Yeah. It's
Um,
a common theme for sure.
but I think what you kind of asked is, ways we're telling our story. And I think
Yeah.
we're really, because it's just Plum City, and I suspect many schools this size, it's special, where every teacher knows every kid's name, and they probably know their parents, grandparents, all those things, and so they're helping engage at kind of that next level, right? Of not just help like learn this content, but here's why, and here's how it connects to your life, and you're able to do that both with the size we are and just the connection that exists, and so. I think if you get a free minute sometime to go on Plum City School District's Facebook page, we have a really strong social media presence. My mom, who lives way back in Chautauqua, an hour and a half away, loves every day will tell me about the things she liked on our Facebook page. We usually try to have a post or two a day. Um,
Fun.
and just some of the neat things, from our Students of the Month nominations to what community ed events are happening to what our students in the shop class are making to elementary ed or elementary things. So it's just I think a nice balance to help show the community and those out of our community who care about Plum City as well. Just these are the neat things we're doing. These are how we're impacting others. Um, our community ed, I think, is a good presence. One thing we added last year was opening our building, the high school, up from 4 to 5 p.m. every day, so the community come in and walk, particularly in the colder months, November to March. And that's been a great thing. I would guesstimate we have, anywhere from a dozen to more people every day who are in here walking. And it just brings the community together. Occasionally I'll jump in and walk with them. Not as much as I'd like, but as much as I can. And, they're just talking, having a good time with their friends, their neighbors, as they run into staff on their way out or, kids on break from a practice or something, there's certainly conversation. And that's
Yeah.
not something that, larger districts can always do. So that
Right.
connection level is really a valuable thing, I think.
Yeah. And so when you talk about 240 kids, you probably have a teacher for every grade. And then how do you manage high school? Like, how does that work there? When you're talking about 20
Yeah.
kids, that's a one classroom, but if you've got other things that you're offering,
Yep.
I'm curious.
Yeah. We have, I think, um, pretty creative staffing. We do one section like you kind of applied at the elementary.
Mm,
In the middle school, we have, core teachers in math, social studies, science, and ELA and reading. As we get into secondary, we have a primary ELA teacher for high school. We have a math teacher. We have a science teacher. Although our middle school science teacher does some high school science, she's kind of our ag teacher.
okay.
She runs FFA or Future Farmers of America. So there's different um, connections there. We have a high school social studies teacher, but again, our middle school teaches some of those high school classes as well. So it's kind of good in that you can have some various connection points for students. We
Hmm.
have, the specials that you would expect in an art teacher, a band teacher, a choir teacher, a tech ed teacher, and just I'll tell you at the end some of a neat project that he's doing that I think is a good for the community as well. Home ec teacher or FCS as it's known. So just I think a lot of good opportunities for our kids. And one thing that's really neat about our high school, I think, is you can be involved in just about everything. And one thing that I've noticed in some of the larger schools, and it's just the way it is you have to start specializing as you get older. Often in middle school, you can participate in a bunch of things, right? You can be in this and that. You can be in, forensics, the band, and basketball all at the same time. Well, in those larger districts, as you get in the high school, it's tough to do that, right?
Right.
Because you have some pretty high abilities at the high end. You have some pretty big time commitments. Um, and here you can be in just about everything. We have a kiddo who was in state in DECA, which is kind of a business model. And so she was in state in that. She made it to state in forensics, and she also was on our basketball team.
Wow.
And so you can coordinate all those things if you have the will to do that. We can make that happen here. We have really flexible staff who are flexible with finding times to do things. Our transportation department is like, yep, we can figure out a way to make all those things happen. And so I just think that is a special opportunity for our kids that you don't have to choose if you don't want to. We can make it work. Our employers in town are pretty amazing. Many of which who have kids here or did have kids here are like, yep, we can make that work too. So if you still want to have a job, definitely we can find a place for that. So I think that's one thing that also sets Plum City, and I suspect other small communities as well, kind of apart.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, I didn't go to a rural school. I mean, I was in Grand Island, Nebraska, but there were 1,200 kids in my graduating class, and I was um in the top 25. But, it's like, but it was 1,200 kids. There's no way you could know them all. And that was,
I think I
you
ran a
know,
marathon there once. Is that where the state fair is?
no, that's Lincoln,
Oh, okay.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lincoln. Grand
Um,
Island is Nebraska's very small. Like they don't even
there-
like there's Omaha and it's like 350 some thousand people, and then you have Lincoln where the university is, and then the next biggest town, and I think there's like maybe 150 200,000 people that live in Lincoln. And then Grand Island, when I lived there, it was about 30. It has grown to I think about 40,000 people, but that's the third largest city in Nebraska. It's
yeah,
very rural, very, very
kind of
rural.
all on the east side there too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and there's only 150 miles between Omaha and Grand Island. So, yeah, there's stuff that goes on. I don't want to uh,
Sure.
ignore the other side, but that's the biggest, but that's really rural. So for me to grow up in a rural area, and yet, because I lived in the city, but there was a lot of towns exactly like Plum City where, just 250, 300 kids. It's a funny story. My father and his brother are a year apart. They're both gone now. My dad was born in 1937. So this would have been like 42, right? 1943, just before World War II. They had a one-room schoolhouse, and his brother was the only kindergartner. So they put him in first grade. So he graduated from high school at 16 years old because he was the only kindergartner. So rather than have him do kindergarten all by himself, but those are the kinds of things that they did,
Yep.
that's
Well,
almost 100 years ago now, right?
we
1940,
we
well,
actually
20
have
years,
a
80
class
years.
of, as of a few weeks ago, only 3 kids in one grade level in elementary level. So we were combining them, and slowly as that has grown up a little bit, we're hope to be at 5 here shortly, and that we're gonna find a way to have a primary teacher for him. But that's kind of a
Same.
creative thing we're still doing in
Yeah.
2026 at times. So
Yeah.
a couple other examples of things that I really think set Plum City apart. One's a really neat one. I try to have a trivia question at conferences, just mainly to kind of trick parents into coming and talking to me, because who wants to go talk
Love
to
it.
the principal or the guy who's asking for more money, right? So
Right.
one is that this trivia question was, when did our senior trip in Plum City start? And they have just this really neat senior trip. And by the way, the answer to the trivia question was in 1955 was the first
Wow.
senior trip here, and then in 56 began what's presently our senior trip that goes um, down to Chicago, over to Gettysburg, Washington D.C., New York, and then if you have time, it swings up to Niagara Falls, and that's the first week in May. And other than a little bit of COVID um, issues there, I think for a couple of years that has been the thing they do the first week in May every year. And
Wow.
what is fascinating, and I think what's really a testament to this wonderful community, is that it's entirely public, entirely funded by donations and events. So tonight after school, I'll head out to a pasta feed here that our freshmen put on. And the place will be packed with people coming and buying pasta that they could make for much less at home to help support these kids their senior year go on this trip. There's a fish fry that happens where it's standing room to get in. There's
Love it.
selling of different trinkets and things that people would do. And by their senior year, they've made the approximately $40,000 it costs to take a bus and do all of that. And again, that's been going on for you know
Yeah.
it's a long time.
A long
So that's
time.
a
Yeah.
pretty thing. And I think it is never once in my time here that ever questioned, well, we could get rid of that or stop asking for that, because we're asking referendum taxes have gone up. And of course, people get
Hmm.
asked for money for different things too. And it's just amazing how that is talked so highly of and promoted. And this year, I'm fortunate I get to go with our kids, be a
Oh, fun.
chaperone on. So I'm looking forward to that. Although I've been to those places, one of the goals my wife and I have is to bring our kids to all 50 states.
We all feel it. Students are struggling more than ever with emotional and behavioral challenges. Lighthouse Therapy offers virtual, hybrid, and in-person behavioral and mental health support that builds around your school environment. Our licensed professionals are trauma-informed, experienced, and trained to work with K-12 students and staff. You don't get a cookie-cutter approach. You get a partner who listens, adapts, and builds trust. Because when students feel safe and seen, they thrive. Learn how you can get support at your school at lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together.
And we're at 49. We'll hopefully hit
good for
Hawaii
you.
next summer. But doing it with the senior class as they kind of wrap up their career here in Plum City, because they come back late Sunday night. We'll get back. They'll have school through Wednesday. We'll do baccalaureate that week, and then they graduate Saturday afternoon. So just a
Ooh,
neat
that's
way
a
to end the year.
whirlwind.
It is. It
Wow.
is. It goes quick. We'll do a couple kids will stick around after graduation for our band and choir concert will be the next week. But other than that, they'll kind of wrap it up pretty quickly there for sure.
Well, it sounds like a wonderful community, just lovely. It just, it just makes me go, how fantastic it is that everybody is all in your community, and it's special. You can't bottle it, Chris. You can't bottle that.
Oh, another neat thing that we just kind of, I think, got figured out is years ago. I mean, I think in like the 70s, a small plot of land, or small relative to, ruralness, about 13 acres was donated to us as a school forest. And that school forest has been there for, since then, over 50 years. And has been used for things here and there. I think um, perhaps some planting and some, different things, but really nothing primary. And this year we kind of got the idea and said, we'd like to really do something with it. And so we have two things we're looking at. One is we approved a system to have kids bow hunt on that land for deer in the fall and turkey in the spring, kind of a permit lottery program where they can put in and, certain rules. You have to have hunter safety. You
Yeah,
can't
of
skip
course.
school
Right.
to go hunting. We're going to do
Darn
2-week
it.
increments. Yeah, we don't want you skipping school to go, but just a neat opportunity for kids that don't have access to that at their home, right? And so some of the neighbors that we kind of spoke to were just really, really supportive. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. If they need help with, and you get a deer or putting up their stand, we'd love to help them. And that just was met with tremendous support all around of doing that. And then the other thing we're looking into is potentially a charter school, an outdoor ed-based charter school. Like I said, our ag or an FFA advisor is just phenomenal, and it would be great to get kids out there doing more and more things, build a pavilion and stuff like that. So we're looking into a couple things to kind of get get that land utilized the best we can, and we've just had nothing but support from the community of, oh yeah, I could donate this, I could do that, and it's just tremendous.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. So, where do people go, Chris, if they want to? I know you said you have a Facebook page. How would they find that Facebook page, and how would they? I'm assuming you have a website. I'm guessing, but
We do. Yep.
yeah.
We have a website, and that is, I'll even read it to you, plumcity.k12.wi.us. And you will certainly find my email on there in the directory if you'd like to reach out. And
Awesome.
then our Facebook page, um, is right. I'll read that to you as well. And that is the Plum City School District. And we would love to have you follow us. We currently have 1.8 thousand followers, which is pretty
Wow.
good for a
Yeah,
town of 600 people. So
absolutely.
we would love to grow that a little bit. I think in education, we can all learn from each other. So I really like
Absolutely.
the
Oh,
idea.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
a couple. Can I do two more quick
Yeah.
plugs?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
One is an example of just the neat things that I think are happening here, and then one kind of just something personally that I'm doing that I think is kind of a neat, just a look at the role that I have. So the first is our tech ed teacher, Nick Gillis, who grew up here, actually as a retired principal, and said, you know what, I got a few more years I can give. I grew up in this tech ed department. That's where I learned to become a teacher. I'd like to do it. And so he joined when I did 2 years ago. And he found on a TV show, he found a program called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And I believe it originated out in California. And so on May 22nd, it's a Friday here in Plum City, we are going to participate with that group. And the goal is to make 20 bunk beds. Our tech ed department, our shop kids, and then some community, including the Lions Club, is going to come and help to make 20 bunk beds for those in need and donate them completely. So um, it's just a neat way that our kids are going to, who already are very community service based. We have National Honor Society hours and things, but just a neat opportunity to give back a little bit. And like I said, it'll be wonderful to see students and community working side by side with a common goal. And I know
Yeah,
at
for
least
sure.
one family here in town, I don't know who they are, but at least one has applied to get a bunk bed from that group. So um, one super excited for that. We've had some donations rolling in. We've had I think at least one local news station might come here. I let the state superintendent know, who I saw at a meeting a few weeks ago, and she's like, "Oh, that'd be kind of neat." So just hoping for some good publicity for our students and for
For
Nick for all
sure.
he's doing. He doesn't want the attention, but he certainly deserves it.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah. And then personally, something that I'm doing that's interesting, like I said, my uncle, he's now um, a professor at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. And so a study that we're doing, there are 34, I believe, superintendents in Wisconsin who also have other roles. There's approximately 420 some school districts in Wisconsin. So 34 are like me, where they also have another role, maybe um, our co-op partner, that superintendent is also elementary principal, whereas I'm middle high school. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a number across. So we just yesterday actually finished the interviews of 4 people for kind of a qualitative study, and then we're shortly going to send out um, surveys to these members. And then
Mm-hmm.
next year at the Rural Education Conference in October, we'll kind of present our findings. And it's really meant for a way to help new people in my role of what would have been helpful for me to read 18 months ago,
Right.
get some advice on, hey, these are things you might want to prioritize. These are tips that worked for me, knowing every community is different, right? But I think a way to kind of just help people as they prepare, because it can be a powerful and energy role. One advantage I have is that I know the kids I represent.
Mm-hmm.
I every day, one of the best parts of my day is high-fiving kids as they come in and high-fiving kids as they leave. And I challenge myself every day to know their names. And I would say I pretty much get every middle and high school student right, the 120 that we have up here. The elementary, sometimes they can trick me, but so I think that really is a powerful tool to know all your kids' names and who you represent, and that's really
Yeah.
challenging to do in the large districts. That's no matter how good a memory you have. So that is a special thing. My general goal is to be in every classroom every week, if not more. And I think when you can get in there and you can see the positive things happening, that gives you that energy to go and make the tough financial decisions you need to push for, something will save your district money and or keep the product high because you know what it means to the kids and the families.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. You put the kids first always. I've seen that theme through this whole conversation. It's like yes, the money and managing, but the kids come first. And it's evident that you have a lot of wonderful passion for your community and for the kids. And it's part of what we talk about here all the time is that putting those kids, we're raising the next generation, and in a million different ways, but education is education. No matter where you're at, the depth of passion that I see is amazing
It's
with the
yeah,
leaders
I
that
mean
we have that come on the show. So,
it's just that's always been my goal, is that I know when it's, if there's ever a day, and I hope it never comes, but when I can recognize when perhaps these kids going to a different district may be what's best.
mhm.
But I am just passionate now every day when I wake up that no, this is a great place and a good place for kids. One thing that drew me here, because I came from River Falls School District, which is one of the top ranked schools districts in the state in terms of character education. They have banners all over all the schools. I was able to contribute to where the school I worked. My wife works at one of the schools and also was on the character committee. And I just believe a lot in character education and the power of, yeah, we want you to know math and science and reading and writing. We want you to do those, but we also want you to be good people because, like you said, they're our future, right? And
Mhm.
so they have a program here as well, character education, and a really neat opportunity. I actually get it to do it this afternoon as we have bi-monthly assemblies, so 2 a month, where we teach character ed to the grades. And to kind of break it down, our dean of students takes the high school, I take the middle school, and that allows collaboration time for our teachers to get together and go through, and kind of collaborate on the kids, on programs they're doing. While we get to work with the kids. So today I'm working with kiddos on cooperation and looking forward to spending, both the last half hour, about 27 minutes of our day with them going through that. And I know as I walk through our dean of students office, she's got some pretty neat things there. She keeps the bar high to keep me making sure I'm doing my best too. So that's another neat opportunity that I get. I'm fortunate enough to have, that I think really connects me back to why we're here and the importance of it.
Yeah.
It makes it all the easier when you're at a board meeting and someone may be frustrated about their taxes going up. Um,
Mhm.
you can speak about the good things happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you have that because so much there's lots of talks about social emotional learning and you guys are tackling it head on at a huge level, which is great. And so keep it up. It's not hard to come to work when you love what you do, is it?
It isn't. Like I said, that even, we all have things, right? We have,
Yeah.
I have a kid at home
Challenges,
sick
right?
today with a
Yeah.
fever, and we all have stuff that, give us stress. We're about to head into spring break next week, and there's a giant snowstorm coming as my family's flight leaves. And so as you have those things, those high fives that happen right outside that door, is where our students enter. Um, it just brightens your day, and you
Yeah.
see, that they're excited to be here. They're excited to, I mean, they've been in the same class with many of these classmates for 12 or 13 years.
Mhm.
And so, they're there, they're best friends with all their classmates. They're not walking in with a stranger or somebody they barely know. It's quite the opposite. So, and what's neat about those assemblies, at times we've done big ones where it's sixth grade through 12th grade, and you get to see seniors helping sixth graders. You get to
Mhm.
see all those things. We have an assembly right after spring break, music in our schools where the community's invited, but we have all the way from 4K to 12th grade there to see some of our band and choirs perform. And so it's neat to see how we all come together. Our
Yeah.
dance team made it to state for the second year in a row, which was really neat this year. And we did a whole assembly in our gym where all the elementary kids made signs for them in art class, and they got to hold it up with these dancers. And just seeing how our dance team felt, and the coach, I think, was almost to tears because it was just such a neat to see you had a whole community behind you. That's pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really special. One of our director of clinical operations shared a picture when her son graduated from high school last year. It was her youngest child. And they have this thing that they do and I don't know the specifics. So, but the picture was all of the seniors go and welcome the upcoming kindergartners into the school and their generation, the next generation. It was neat, super neat. Yeah, because you just and it makes me teary-eyed. Look at me, I'm silly.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
is, it's that love of the kids and education and
yep.
knowing and how proud you can be of your kids when they are Here and this guy is her son is like 6'2". He's not a small
Sure.
guy.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
you see him leaning down and taking the hand of this little girl, and it was just beautiful because
Yeah.
he's finishing
Yeah.
and she's just starting and yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. It's that passion, it's that love of the kids and seeing and teaching them how to be amazing human beings is such a huge part of what we're doing, right?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. I mean, that's what gives you the comfort about what's next. We
Mhm.
um our National Honor Society kind of promotes service learning and different projects and things. And a couple years ago, one of our now seniors started a project of giving gifts to people at the care center, nursing home in town.
Mhm.
And it just watching, I went with when they delivered them to these people. And it's just such a powerful thing to see, these kids giving back to these senior citizens and just a tremendous sight to see
Yeah.
things like that. Our first graders went over to the care center and had a kind of a snowball fight where it was, you know, something soft. They weren't actually bringing snow into there, and just seeing how much fun that was
Mhm. Yeah.
for these people who are otherwise kind of in that place most of the day, if not every day. So,
Yeah.
just a tremendous community and school that I has had this reputation for a number of years. That's what brought me here, and
Yeah.
hopefully it'll continue for years and years to come.
Well, Chris, it has been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you. Thank you so
Likewise.
much for what you're doing for the next generation and for your passion, and just keep it up.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful to meet you.